Yay.
Welcome to the live stream, my dear friends. This is going to be a little bit different than what we're going to be doing going forward this season. Mainly because, we're not in the home studio. We don't have all the gear we normally would have. With that being said, those of you here on the live stream, I'm so sorry we don't get an intro today. I'll do like my normal verbal intro, but there will be no... what's the word I'm looking for? Theme song.
No theme song.
Title sequence. That's the word I said earlier.
No Phineas and Ferb moment.
Yeah, no Phineas and Ferb moment. But that's okay. When this comes out live on the podcasting platforms, it will. So need to connect this thing to the Wi-Fi because I didn't do that already.
Oh, okay.
And I kind of need it. Ooh, there's a stray fork on the table. Sorry, we're started a little late because we just finished eating our dinner.
Yes.
And it was delicious, but put us behind. Why is that not
Well,
working?
it wasn't our fault, actually. This is totally not the topic, but it wasn't our fault because it was supposed to be ready at 9:20, and it actually wasn't ready until 9:35.
True.
So.
That is a thing that happened.
Yeah.
There we go.
You've had a long day today, haven't you, Noah?
I have, but we can talk about that in a moment.
Okay.
Now that everything's running and my eye's itching,
Yep.
right when you want it to. I'm struggling at the moment. Let's see if that downloads fast enough. Good grief.
Is it live on YouTube? Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
It should be. That's what I'm
Okay.
trying to check, but I can't really see at the moment because I don't have YouTube downloaded on my iPad right now, apparently.
I'll check.
Right on.
Yes.
Cool. You want to go ahead and start then? Ooh, I don't know if that is on Wi-Fi, though. I don't know if the quality is super great.
It's good.
Does it look good? Does it look HD?
Yeah.
Okay.
That looks good.
Well, let's go ahead and just start the podcast then.
Mm-hmm.
And we will fumble through things as we go along.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. To all who listen to this happy pod, welcome. My name is Noah Parker, and this is my world of wonder. Today I'm joined by my co-host and mother, Lynn Parker. And we are live in Walt Disney World today.
Yes.
Kicking off our third season of this podcast. It's been fun. I've been enjoying
can't
it.
believe it's been 3 years, too.
Yeah. And I'm also happy that we were able to do a podcast from Walt Disney World in the first season. This is the thing it hasn't been the kickoff, of course, but we've had one episode that was recorded here or streamed here. I think, didn't we? I think so. Because I brought all my gear down and we did like the big filming day.
Yes.
For the first one, and then we just kind of did a live stream like this one the second time. So. Yeah, good stuff. Well, today, I guess let's get into what you were just talking about. I've had a long day. You've had a long day. We both had long days.
We've had long days.
As you guys will see when the vlog comes out in a couple of weeks, I've been up since 2:00 this morning.
Mountain time.
And it is, I guess it's 8:00 Mountain time right now. 8:07, 8:08. Just clicked over. So, that's a long day. That's a really long day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got up, jumped in my Corolla, drove myself down to the airport, and then Raylan drove my car back. And then got on a plane. I think I slept for an hour on the plane, fortunately, which normally I don't sleep on the plane. The only reason I know for sure that I did sleep is because I'd started watching Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. And I was 43 minutes in. Okay. And then next thing I knew, the movie was over. The movie is about an hour and 43 minutes long. So
that's funny.
Fell asleep for sure. But yeah, so I'm dragging a little now. I'm running out of steam. But I did today without Joffrey's, which I thought I was
really impressed with that. I had to have my coffee. Yeah. So, but Dad and I got up at 3:30 this morning Eastern time, and Dad got up at about 4, and we got, since Dad wasn't staying, he just had his stuff to get ready. I had to pack and bring some other things. And so then we did leave at 4:30, which is what we planned. And then we got here at about 7, maybe a little after 7. And then we got on the bus to Hollywood Studios because they had early entry.
Naturally.
And since we didn't know if Dad was going to be able to stay or not. And so we planned that he would. And then, in fact, he's not. But we were able to do early entry. And so we did Tower of Terror. And then we did Rock and Roller Coaster. And then we went to Animal Kingdom because I don't know if we're going to be back before the 27th to get our pass holder magnets, which we did get. It is currently Crush, which I love.
Heck yeah.
So, and then we met up with Noah at the resort, and then we ended up going back to Hollywood. Well, I think we went to Hollywood Studios, and we rode Star Tours because Star Tours is like my Spaceship Earth, except for Hollywood Studios.
Yeah.
And then we got lunch at Backlot Express.
Yes. It was delicious.
And it was delicious.
Except for some reason, Backlot Express has just not had ice. I remember last time we were here and we went to Backlot Express.
Yeah.
They didn't have ice then either. So
I know.
I don't know what's going on with that, but it's kind of annoying. Especially because as a manager of a fast food restaurant, I know that when you pour a cold beverage out of a soda fountain, it is cold because of the ice in the ice bin on top of or below the fountain, depending on its orientation. It's the thing itself is not refrigerated. The lines aren't refrigerated.
Okay.
They pass in between.
Okay.
They pass
I did not know
underneath the ice.
That's fascinating.
Bin. So that's why. So that's why it's so important to keep your ice bins full at restaurants. Is not so that you always have ice. It's so that you pour
keeps it
cold drinks. Yeah.
Got it.
And so it's evident when you pour a drink out of there that it's not warm, because like CO2 will cool it down a little bit on its own, but that'll keep it from being a warm beverage. But that's
if you get from the fountain drink,
right?
Which I get the tea.
You get the tea, which is definitely not, but that never is. No. That's also why if you order a tea from most restaurants, it'll be like you'll see them put a ton of ice in.
Yeah, a whole glass of ice and then pour the tea.
It's also formulated that way that you're supposed to put in the extra ice.
It's almost like a concentrate almost. Yeah. Okay.
They're expecting the tea to melt the ice. So
awesome.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay.
All that grass dying leading us into today's topic of conversation.
Yes.
That's not how you say that, but that's how I said it.
That's how we said it.
And so, yeah.
You said what you said.
And in the last season, we had talked about heritage rides, but old versus new.
Okay.
Where we took one ride and we compared it to a ride that replaced it. But in that video, we specifically were looking at rides that I had experienced. So Ellen's Energy, I don't think Ellen's Energy Adventure made it on the list, but that could have been.
Could have been.
Because I rode Ellen's Energy Adventure and I rode Guardians of the Galaxy, so I have something to compare it to.
Right.
But now, today...
Worlds apart, though.
Yes. With Mom today, we can do something that we couldn't do before, where we can look at some of the more, I'm calling them heritage rides.
Heritage. I like it. Okay.
And that's rides that I never did get to experience because they were closed before I was born in some cases.
Yes.
If not every single case we're about to go over. And I can't find my notes. So I'll let you take the reins here and get us going.
So they're all across, I'm going to say, they're really just across Epcot.
I think all of these are
Magic
in
Kingdom.
Epcot, and maybe one's in Magic Kingdom.
Because,
there are two in Magic
there's
Kingdom.
a couple. Okay. Actually, I didn't think about this, but I do have an honorable mention that I would like to add at the end, and that is one from Hollywood Studios. So just remind me, and it's not necessarily a ride, but we'll call it a ride.
Okay.
So do we want to start off?
Yeah, go ahead and go right into it.
So the first one is Horizons versus Mission Space. And Mission Space is actually in the Horizons building, more or less. And they're completely different rides. The only similarity that they even remotely have is when you go into, I think it's still there anyway. When you go into Mission Space, there's a big wheel looking thing, and it's actually supposed to be like a space station. And that is actually it's left over from Horizons.
Okay.
It was, so Horizons, when it came out, it was imagine what you could do if you could live anywhere. So like you could live in space, you could live underwater and on land, right?
Okay.
And so you got to, at the end, choose your adventure, where you would want to live and that sort of thing.
Kind of in a similar vein to like Spaceship Earth. You get to the end and they're like, let's design your future, except it was more specifically about where you're living.
Except for like you had like a panel, so you sat across, almost like the clamshells, in Nemo and Friends.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like that, except for it was like 4 people wide.
Okay.
And there was a panel and you could choose where you wanted to go. And then you went off that way. So if you wanted to do space, you hit that button and then your little car would go off that way.
Okay.
It was very cool. It was very cool and cutting edge for the early 80s.
Yeah.
Okay. So it really was very educational, possibilities, opportunities, those sorts of things. And unfortunately, what happened with a lot of stuff at Disney that happened, it wasn't enough of a thrill ride. There was not enough ooh and awe factors.
Sure.
And so, hence Mission Space. And Mission Space, of course.
I enjoy Mission Space.
Right? But when it first opened, oh my gosh. There were a couple of things too. There's another one I wanted to add. I don't think that's on here either though. But there's a couple of rides that have been like, oh, we didn't realize it was actually going to be like people who had medical conditions. It was going to be that bad.
Yeah.
And they had some significant medical anomalies that happen with some people and things like that. And so, yeah. Horizons never had a problem like that. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, there you go. One thing that I will give Space Mountain the nod to is that it is
Mission Space.
That's what I meant. Yeah, what Mission Space is that several astronauts did say it's about as close to experiencing a rocket launch as you can get without strapping yourself to the top of one.
Yes.
Which is really cool.
That is true.
And me as a space nerd, I really dig that.
Yeah.
It's really fun because that's something that when I was a kid, I thought I was going to do when I grew up. Now here I am making videos on YouTube.
Talking about space.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, gosh.
So I can't really rate these because I've never experienced it. So
can't.
Which one do you prefer personally?
Well, okay. So since I am of the heritage generation, the Generation X that experienced Horizons, I do like Horizons.
Okay.
I do like Horizons. That said, I did like, so Mission Space, the green ride is the one that I've ridden the most.
Yeah.
But they changed it recently. So it used to be similar to the orange ride, but they changed it and now it's just like a trip around the world. And so it's not as exciting. It's just kind of,
I have mixed feelings about that change.
To me, the way they have it now, it feels like there's little difference-ish between that and Soarin'.
It's the altitude.
It is. It's just the altitude, and the atmosphere.
Yeah, which is fair. I have mixed feelings on that change because part of me likes the fact that they're different experiences. But the other part of me thinks it's kind of lame because if you can't ride the orange ride for whatever reason, heart conditions,
right,
claustrophobia, like if it's claustrophobia, you're probably not riding either one of them.
Yeah, no.
But like motion sickness is the same issue. But so we'll say heart condition, any medical conditions that would prevent you from being able to do the orange ride.
Right.
Now you're disqualified from experiencing that version of the ride, which is why I kind of think it's a bummer that they're different.
Right.
Because like I can do both. So if I prefer the green one, don't get me wrong, because that orange ride is intense. It
is very intense.
But I can do it. If I really want to do that trip to Mars, I can do it. So there is that.
And also, I will say, they changed up the pre-show, and it used to be Gary Sinise, which I love,
That was so good.
and it should have stayed.
It
That's
should've-
what I'm
it
going to
should've
say.
stayed.
I said what I
It
said.
bums me out that they took it out, but it is what it is.
Okay.
Right on. Well, that takes us on to World of Motion versus Test Track 1.0. Typically, it's what is there now is what we did last time, but
Right.
we can kind of adjust a little bit. And since we're talking about heritage, and now that Test Track's on its third iteration, we have a lot more to discuss. Because we could technically go back and do this again and say, okay, now Test Track 1.0 versus 2.0.
And 2.0.
I think me and Adriana did Test Track 1.0 into 2.0.
Oh, okay.
Because I had not ridden 3.0 before.
Okay.
Obviously, still won't till Wednesday.
Ooh, yay. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow. Who knows?
Fair enough. But yeah, lost my train of thought. We could do 2 versus 3 in another episode, but I digress. So what was World of Motion?
So World of Motion was essentially, so you have to understand when Epcot opened, its main goal was education. They wanted to educate people how things worked.
Right.
Right? And so it was almost everything in Future World was based on where we were, how we got here, where we're going, what opportunities might there be in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And so when World of Motion started, and that's how Horizons was, like where we started, where we're going, what possibilities there are.
Yeah.
And World of Motion was the same way. This is where we started with vehicles. It was all like the history of vehicles, and mostly cars, and starting with the riding horses, riding horse-drawn carriages, the horseless carriage, and then on.
Yeah.
And so it was also an omnimover. So think Mission Space.
Yep.
Or not Mission Space.
I get what you did, what I did, except backwards.
Spaceship Earth, which is closed this time. So it was Spaceship Earth, and it would take you through how new concept cars are created, everything from the drawing to the clay sculpture to here is the vehicle.
Yeah.
And it was like the first thing that you could ever look at and say, oh, that's how they do it. Like nobody knew how really plans and stuff came together. And you got to remember, this is 82 to 85.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And ish. And so a lot of this stuff, people didn't really understand how it worked. They were just like, oh, okay, it's a Ford LTD, and now it's there and it's made. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what it was. And then Test Track 1.0 you experienced.
Yeah.
And that was, do you remember what those were?
Yeah, that was basically like what cars go through before they're considered road worthy. All the technology going into like anti-lock brake systems. I remember that being a huge part of the queue line was like, this is what happens if you brake with anti-lock brakes versus if you don't have anti-lock brakes. And then that was part of the ride.
Yes.
And then they also were talking about like, and this is what steering over these conditions do, all this stuff. And then of course the crash test.
And the crash test dummies.
Yes.
That was a
huge part of it.
Oh,
the huge part of it was the crash test.
Yes.
And so part of the ride was, you go hurling towards a wall like a crash test dummy. But at the last second, the door springs open and you just go onto the high-speed track.
Yes.
Which not totally off topic because it's kind of on topic, but it's kind of off topic. I noticed in every video that I've seen of Test Track 3.0,
yes,
that door opens way earlier.
Yes.
If not, basically, as soon as you start accelerating, it opens. There's no anymore. It's just boom.
Right.
Which kind of makes me like, what's the point in the door anymore? Like, just leave it open.
Yeah.
And maybe it is open. I don't know.
I will say this. What I like about Test Track 3.0 is it went back to some of the World of Motion ideas.
Yeah.
So one of the things that in the queue line is that the line comes up and it's like not a window. I'm gonna say a window because I don't know what else to call it. Like a window, and you can look out to the rest of the queue.
Yeah.
And if you go back and search Google and see what you can find, the actual ride vehicle used to come up, and it was like that. It like went up,
so you could
and it
see
was
the
like
queue,
so you could
but you were in
see
the ride vehicle versus still
yes.
being in the queue.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly, exactly. And so I did. That's a freebie.
That's
I
really
really
cool.
like that. So yeah.
Right on.
Yep.
Well, that being said, out of World of Motion versus Test Track 1.0, which one did you prefer?
I have to say Test Track 1.0.
Okay.
I do like the educational
I really hope
aspects.
you were going to say that, because I'm like, if this is all just the old ones, it's not going to be any
It's
fun.
not- no, it's not that. I love roller coasters. I love things that go fast. Yay.
Occasionally there's one.
I do like the aspects of education and that how it's made factor.
Yeah.
I love that. And that's really what World of Motion did. But now with the new iteration of Test Track 3.0, because I'm putting that in there with that, it brings it all full circle, I think.
Yeah, which is really cool.
And so Test Track 1.0 was like the springboard of going, well, what would it look like if you were in the car?
Right.
And you were going through the paces of testing and the cold and the corrosion.
Yeah.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
So
I dig that.
Yeah.
I do think that like Test Track 1.0 is probably the rare case where the ride was replaced, and what it replaced it with was both thrilling and still, albeit moderately so, still educational.
Yes.
You still learned how cars are tested.
Yes, exactly.
You're still learning, as opposed to like Guardians of the Galaxy, where you're being presented like you're learning about this alien race, but there's no alien race.
Real alien race, right?
So it's all fiction that was made up.
Yeah.
So it's not really educational unless you're a super like Marvel nerd, I guess,
Right,
and
right.
you want that extra backstory,
That is
which is totally fine. If
Not
that's
me.
you, that's all right. Or like Journey Under the Sea with the little, not what? Hold on, I just mixed two rides together.
Yes, you did.
The Seas with Nemo and Friends.
Yes.
Not really educational,
No.
unless what you're trying to teach is don't play a prank on all of your friends and family, making them think you're lost a second time.
Right. Oh my goodness.
But anywho, I digress. Can't say I disagree or agree with you there, because I don't know.
Right.
I feel though that probably.
Yeah.
This one is far beyond my. 'Cause if I remember correctly, when I looked at the dates for this, if you had wings closed, like before you and Dad were married, if I remember correctly, I think it was in the. Well, I guess maybe not. I'm trying to remember. I think it was in the 80s that it did, but I can't remember where
No,
in the 80s it
I
was.
don't know that it. You'll have to Google that because I don't know. But
Go ahead and talk about what it is.
I
and I'll find
will.
the date.
So if you had rings,
If you had the rings,
oh my goodness,
I just typed that.
one of us needs to go to bed and take a nap. If You Had Wings was originally sponsored by Eastern Airlines. Doesn't even exist anymore. There's a lot of them that don't exist, but they, again, this is back when everything was like set to be educational. And then what could possibly be. And so it was on the kind of Omnimover track like Haunted Mansion.
Mm-hmm.
And the ride vehicles were similar, except for they weren't doom buggies.
Okay.
Okay, so they were that same like curved thing, not a clamshell exactly, because it had this. Everything was the same as the doom buggies, except for it was like a pale blue.
Interesting. Okay.
And then it would basically take you through the paces of what. Again, it went from the history of flight to like commercial, Wright brothers, everything. And then it just kind of, what I guess it was educational. That one I remember writing, I don't remember writing it with Dad, but that one I remember writing as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember like towards the end, it made you feel like it would speed up, or it felt like it was speeding up. And it had a song that went with it, or whatever. It was like, if you had wings, if you had wings, had wings, had wings. It was cute.
Okay.
That's a freebie. And I'm tired, so I don't care. And again, you know, everything is just like, how do we get here kind of thing?
Mhm.
How do we get to this flight concept?
Yeah.
And what I think across the Walt Disney World Resort, that's really what Walt wanted, was to show people.
Yeah.
Here's where and how this came about.
Mhm.
I think coming up with things like the animation studio things that they do in Disneyland, or I guess it's California Adventure, that they're bringing here, where they teach you how to draw characters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's really what they're doing. They're just bringing more of that, and then encouraging people. If you enjoyed this, think of what the possibilities are for you, what the opportunities are for you. So
Yeah.
that's really just what this is just an extension. Along those same lines, Space Ranger Spin uses that same kind of omnimover
Yeah.
vehicle concept.
Yeah, yeah.
The vehicles are different, and it's closed because they're redoing them. But
Right.
anyway,
Yeah. Well, there you go.
thoughts?
Thoughts.
I mean, it was very educational. Everything was
Yeah.
very educational.
Lots of education in
Right.
the beginning, not so much now. And honestly, I have mixed feelings about Space Ranger Spin. I think what does it for me is, if Toy Story Midway Mania didn't exist,
Oh yeah,
I would probably prefer Space Ranger Spin.
Right.
But because Mania does, I think I would like personally to experience. I think I would rather
Yeah.
experience If You Had Wings and
Yeah.
go through that
Yeah.
development of manned flight.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And it's unfortunately not an option, but
Yeah. Right.
but I think I
Right.
would prefer If You Had Wings,
Yeah.
just on principle. But again, that's only because Midway Mania exists.
Right. Well, that's fine.
Because in my opinion, like, Midway Mania makes Space Ranger Spin not need to exist.
Whatever draws you over to the heritage side, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Also, to just touch on it, it opened June 5th of 1972.
Okay.
And it closed January 3rd of 1989.
Okay. There you go.
So-
So I did not go on it with that.
Yeah.
My like 8th grade year, I think it was 8th grade year, we came to Disney World 3 times for our 8th grade chorus trip.
Fancy.
I was a police explorer in North Lauderdale, Florida. Whoop, whoop.
Fancy.
And so we came for that, and then we came for the 8th grade trip. So it was 8th grade chorus, the police explorers, and the 8th grade trip period. And that was one of my favorite rides.
Yeah.
Epcot was open when we came, but I don't remember going to Epcot at that point. So
interesting.
we spent the whole day. It's back when you could go to just walk up and go to King Stephen's Castle and stuff like that, which is Cinderella Castle now. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, times were different. I
Yeah.
get it. I'm trying not to like harp on that, because I think change is good. I think it's inevitable if you want to continue with progress. If you stay where you're at, you'll always have what you have.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I like to explore the possibilities. And so while some of my favorite rides have gone away, I still like the possibilities of, this one's different because, or
Yeah.
it came back and brought these things like Test Track 3.0, brought aspects of World of Motion. So
Fair enough.
okay.
Right on. This one is like one of those weird ones where I could kind of almost talk about it, but almost kind of can't, because I don't know how different they are, and I assume they probably weren't that different. But this is Mr. Toad's Wild Ride versus the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. This Pooh replaced 2 separate rides, or 2 separate attractions, one in each park.
Oh,
'Cause
right,
here,
right.
It replaced Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. And if I'm thinking about this right, which I think I am, in Disneyland, it replaced the Country Bear Jamboree. If I'm remembering that correctly.
I don't know about that. I
I'm
don't
questioning
remember.
it, but I think I'm correct. But I might not be.
Isn't it
But
over?
we're not talking about Disneyland.
Isn't it over in Critter Country?
Yeah. Which I'm pretty sure is where.
I don't know where the Country Bear Jamboree
Well, we'll
is over
find
there.
out.
Okay.
We'll Google that next.
We'll have to Google that next because
So, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride in Disney World. We're talking about Disney World anyway.
Disney
so
World
Disneyland
anyway.
doesn't count.
Yeah.
How different was that from the one in Disneyland?
So I don't know
Have you?
because I went to Disneyland the first time in '88. And I don't know that we went on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. I would assume it was probably the same. I remember very little of the story. The only thing I remember is the ending. And they somehow get around dynamite and it blows up and they all end up in hell. And of course that ride had to go away because we can't have that.
Yeah. So pretty similar, I would assume.
Yeah, I think they're probably pretty similar.
And I mean, the basis of the story, regardless of the ride itself, I guess, is the same.
Yes.
You're experiencing the same thing.
Yes,
You
that aspect
get
is
in
the
the
same.
car, and the idea is that you are Mr. Toad,
Yes.
who went on the wild ride in the car
Yes.
from the film.
Yes.
The the misadventure. What is it? The
Mis-
Marvelous Misadventures
Of
of Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
Yeah.
It's the Mr. Toad half of that film.
Yes.
Where he gets, if I remember the story correctly, and I might not be remembering this right, he gets drunk and trades the Toad Hall to
yes.
a guy for a car. And he goes on a crazy
And it goes on
drive.
Yeah.
And so the ride is you become Mr. Toad, because that was how all the dark rides originally were in
Right.
Disneyland. Is not you are following in Peter Pan's footsteps, or you are not
Right.
like looking into
Right.
Snow White's story. You become
Right.
Snow White and live the story from her point of view.
Right.
Just
Right.
like, and that's how it was with Mr. Toad's
Right.
Wild Ride, how it is in Disneyland. You become Mr. Toad and experience his downfall.
Yes.
So yeah, you go through like a whole bunch of things. You crash into the town, and then eventually end up going to court where you get sentenced to hell.
I didn't
some
remember
reason,
any.
they don't
I didn't remember
die.
the court thing. I remembered like an explosion, and then you ended up in hell.
Yeah, because you crash. I think maybe I'm remembering it slightly wrong.
I don't even know.
Whatever. Regardless, you end up in hell, and then you come out the other end. How about that?
So I'm gonna say
I personally prefer the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
I prefer the Mini Adventures of
Although
Winnie the
there
Pooh
is
as well.
that one weird scene where you go on like an acid trip. Which is like, if that's the case, like, I don't know which is better.
mean,
But yeah, no, I would
don't
say
know.
the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh
Yeah.
is still my
Yeah.
preference. And also, now
Yeah.
I have,
it is.
and I'm sure yours is similar. There's an emotional attachment in our family to anything Winnie the Pooh.
Yes.
And that was my grandmother's favorite Disney character, was Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
And she has gone on to be with the Lord. And
Yes.
so now every time I think of or see Winnie the Pooh, it brings like a little bit of mist to my eyes.
Yes.
Um,
Fun fact, and I don't know if I have that picture or not. When I was little tiny person, and I came to Disney, I shared a photo, but I don't know
Yes.
if it was with Rabbit or if it was with Eeyore. But Eeyore he scared me, but then he became like my favorite
and I think
character
that's so funny.
ever. He's my favorite character ever. Like, he trumps Figment.
Which
And I
is
got a lot of
hard
Figment
to do.
But I do like Eeyore because, as a matter of fact, look,
Oh,
I'm wearing my Eeyore
speak of
shirt
Eeyore.
that my friend Tamara made me. But Dad's favorite character is Tigger.
Okay.
And one of Noah's older brother his name is Andrew, and we call him Roo. And so we have there is this huge connection, like you said,
Yeah.
to Winnie the Pooh. So
Yeah, for sure. So there you
sorry,
go.
Roo.
Next, I'm going to skip the bonus attraction, by the way, so we're just going to nix that.
Okay.
Because it doesn't really count. But we have, and if you can't speak to this or don't remember this very well, that's fine too. And I'm also cutting this one in half because we're talking about Disney World. So
Right.
the next one is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea versus journey under the sea with the Little Mermaid, or whatever the ride is actually called. 'Cause,
Under the Sea Voyage, isn't it? Under the Sea Voyage.
perhaps that's why I wrote that.
It could be.
Hmm,
That might be the title. I don't know
Interesting.
what's in a name.
Yes, Little Mermaid Undersea Voyage here in Walt Disney World, because basically 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea was filled in and paved over,
Yes.
and then they built the Little Mermaid on top of it.
Yes.
Kind of like they're doing to the Rivers of America, where they're going to fill it in and pave over it to make way for Piston Peak.
Yes. Yes.
Now, I've ridden the Finding Nemo. Excuse me, goodness. I've ridden the Finding Nemo attraction
dinner,
at
good
Disneyland,
Yes.
which is, for all intents and purposes, the same ride as 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea,
Right.
barring the actual storyline and
Yes.
some of the
Yes.
things happening back and forth.
Yes.
So I kind of have an idea of what it was, but what was it? Like,
So it was there was a movie called 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. That's what
based
it's
on
based
the book
on.
written by Jules Verne,
Jules Verne. Yes.
which is the next book series I'm reading.
And
Basically, the complete list.
basically, from what I remember, I don't remember. We should have put like when these closed, because that would like really help. And you have to understand too. I grew up literally. Disney World opened in October of '71, and we were there.
Yeah.
And not opening day, but like opening week.
Yeah.
And every year, at least, we went for our birthday. I'm a twin. I speak in the we. So my sister and our parents would take us every year for our birthday until we moved to Colorado in '85. So 71 to '85,
Mm-hmm.
we would go every year. And then we didn't go again. I didn't go again until 1990, when Dad and I went for our honeymoon. 35 years. Love you, babe. And then we didn't go again until 2005. And that's when Matt and we've talked about that road trip
Yep.
on here.
Talk
A
about it
lot.
to death, I think. just
And
about.
that was the year that Matt and I drove you 6 kids out. Andrew
Mhm.
and Dad didn't go. And we went then to Magic Kingdom and MGM. I think it was MGM still at that point.
Yes.
And I do want to talk about the MGM thing. Don't let me forget.
Okay.
That's my bonus.
Okay, we'll do that one.
And then Dad and I went, Granny Janet and Aunt Lori and I went the year that Poppy died,
Mm.
which was my stepdad. And then that kind of started this whole, we don't want to have any regrets. We really wanted our kids Dad and I had a great time when we went on our honeymoon. And, he was raised in Nebraska. He didn't know Disney.
Right.
And then we started this whole coming to Disney thing. So there's a lot of gaps in all that to say. There's a lot of gaps in, do you remember this ride and this ride? And there's a lot that I don't.
Yeah.
Because, and under the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea
Closed in 1994, by the way.
closed. I don't even know if Dad and I went on it when we came for our honeymoon.
Fair enough.
There were 3 parks when we came.
Right.
MGM
Animal
was
Kingdom didn't exist yet.
right. They were
MGM
talking
would have
about
been
it. They were talking
pretty
about
new.
it. But MGM was pretty new. It opened the year before we got married, and I mean, they didn't even have all the attractions that they do now. There was no Tower of Terror. There was no Rock and Roller Coaster. I don't even know if that street actually went even where it is
It
now.
did not.
I didn't think so.
Sunset Boulevard did not exist.
Okay, that's what I thought.
until I think I'm not going to get the year right. It was a couple years later.
Yeah.
A couple years after the park opened, they expanded it.
Yeah. Probably I would think 93, 94-ish.
I think somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Somewhere between what you said and what I'm thinking.
Right. So I don't really remember I know it was based on the storyline of the movie,
Sure.
the Walt Disney movie of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. In which case, there's all these weird sea creatures, and then this giant octopus gets your ship. The Kraken, it gets your ship, and
your submarine.
all this, whatever it is, whatever. It's past my bedtime, dude. And
Likewise.
and then, of course, they through really talented, skilled maneuvers, you break free, and then you come back up. You've never actually gone down, but you've come back up.
You go underwater that much.
and you're back on land, back where you started from. So
brilliant.
There's that. Little Mermaid Under the Sea
by another Omnimover.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the fourth one in the park at the time.
Yeah. I mean,
I think
Little Mermaid Under the Sea Voyage, very much like Finding Nemo.
I prefer Little Mermaid to Finding Nemo. I actually low-key despise Finding Nemo.
Oh.
Don't like that ride.
Okay.
I might ride it again, but like it's one of those rides where I'm like, I probably will never ride it again because I just don't care that much.
So I'm going to say what I liked about 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is exactly what we've been talking about this whole time, where it puts you into the movie or that particular thing.
Yeah.
And Little Mermaid doesn't do that.
Yeah.
It's like showing you the movie again. The same thing with Finding Nemo. It's showing you the whole movie again.
Which is really random that this just popped into my head, and it's not a surprise. It's not a hidden secret or anything. But the captain of the submarine in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea was named Captain Nemo, was he not?
Yes.
And so it was replaced by Nemo.
Yes, in Disneyland. Yes. Yes.
Conspiracy.
Yes. And I think the ship was called the Nautilus.
The Nautilus is correct, yes.
Yay!
There is actually an Easter egg in the
Why are we not doing Disney trivia?
I did not bring gear to do that. There is a nod to the Nautilus in the Little Mermaid queue if you stand in just the right spot.
Really?
The rocks make
Okay.
a Nautilus.
So I will say heritage on this one.
I will go with heritage on this one too, with nothing else other than the vague similarity that Finding Nemo provides. And just there's just a lot of I guess I got to backtrack a minute because I think I do like Little Mermaid ride.
Yeah.
Right? But I think I would rather have 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would also really rather have Little Mermaid and not Finding Nemo at Epcot. So.
Right? I could even go on and talk about that too. Because it used to be Sea Base Alpha.
And that was the thing I thought about at the top of the show. And I'm thinking we're going to have to do another one.
Yeah, because there's so many different ones.
I stopped writing when I got confused and couldn't remember things. So.
Right.
And I wrote this 2 months ago. I basically wrote this episode at the week before the original season break. So I don't even know what's going on anymore.
And I was going to talk about something at Hollywood Studios, but I think one of the rules that we made was that it had to still be open.
Yes. Yeah, that was the big rule with it, is that it's old versus new. It can't be new if there's nothing there.
If there's,
like, what's an example of that? We talked about Horizon.
No, we
talked about Horizons. It was Body Wars.
Body Wars.
Body Wars was a ride that existed, and now just the building sits rotting because they were supposed to put something cool in there. I was just excited that they were going to use the building. I didn't really care what it was. And that has gone dormant. And as far as I know, the building is just rotting away back there.
It is a gold. If you ever wonder what the Gold Dome building is, as you come in on the monorail from Magic Kingdom to Epcot,
sits in between
on the left,
Guardians and Mission Space.
Yep.
That gold dome.
It used to be a ride. Again, it used to be a great ride. I don't understand why they don't just open it. They couldn't replace it. What was that?
Ghosts in that corner. It might be it's Figment.
Figment is moving.
Yes.
But I think that what they should have done, instead of just closing it and going, we'll make something else later, 35 years later, we don't have anything.
Yeah.
Just open it back up. I think everything's probably still there.
I mean, I can't imagine they took it out. What would they have done with it?
I mean, so, yeah.
I don't know.
And I could go on about MGM versus Hollywood Studios, but you experienced MGM a little bit. And the backlot tour versus the kind of modified backlot tour.
Yeah,
and that,
fair.
And then the even more modified backlot tour when they did Lights, Motors, Action.
Yeah.
There's just so much in all the things that they've gotten rid of and paved over and all that. As much as I liked those, and I wish some of them were still around, like I said before, change needs to occur
Sure.
in order for progress to continue.
Yeah.
And not even Disneyland stayed the same.
Right.
Yes, there's some of the opening day attractions and stuff that were there. By the way, Granddad was there opening week when he was a kid, 1955. Anyway.
One of my good friends was born in the parking lot.
Oh my. And so I think that with all of these changes, heritage versus new or newer or newest iteration,
Yeah.
the bottom line is that they do stay loyal to what Walt was hoping to achieve with his parks. And that was to show people how things work, what things are possible, and what the future potentially holds.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we have to try and remember as the Imagineers are making these changes and stuff. As much as we don't want to see Tom Sawyer Island go away, because we love that cave that you keep bonking your head on, whatever.
But to touch on that just a hair,
sure.
Nobody cared. Like, honest to goodness, nobody cared about Tom Sawyer Island until they started about closing it.
Yeah.
No, I don't mean nobody.
Nobody cared.
There were some people out there who liked it and thought it was cool.
Right.
But like a majority of park goers did not bother going over to Tom Sawyer Island. It meant nothing to them.
Right.
And then they said they were going to close it, and suddenly it meant the world to everyone.
Right.
And honestly, people are doing the same thing with Muppet Courtyard.
Yes.
There is the fan base that lived and breathed Muppet Vision 3D.
Right.
But most park goers couldn't care less if it was there until they said they were getting rid of it.
Right.
And it's one of those things, like, I experienced something similar, not quite personally, but the restaurant next door to Dairy Queen was a barbecue place that closed. And when they announced that they were closing, people started, "Oh, why you gotta close? You have the best barbecue in town." And they're like, "Where were you guys then?" Like, we wouldn't be closing if people were eating here. You guys weren't eating here. Where were you? If it means so much to you, like, where have you been?
Exactly.
So it's kind of similar to that.
Exactly.
I was going to touch a little bit on something that you mentioned about MGM Studios versus Hollywood Studios, but I won't go into that now. I mean, I could briefly, I guess.
Another time.
I'll touch on it just briefly.
Okay.
And it's that my only problem with that, the only problem I have with Disney coming away from like how movie magic is made at Hollywood Studios, the only reason that it bugs me is because the park is called Hollywood Studios. Yeah. It's supposed to be a theme park themed to studio, meaning the making of. And it's not. It is becoming like more like the motion picture immersion park. Yes. Where they're trying to immerse you into these films. Yes. And things like that. And honestly, I feel like that started as early as Indiana Jones going in. Indiana Jones is one of those, you could be getting immersed in, you could be learning how the thing is made.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was.
But once they opened Sunset Boulevard.
Yes.
And they brought in. Yes. They brought in Rock and Roller Coaster and Tower of Terror. Yep. You were not learning how music is made. That's right. You saw a recording studio, but then you were immersed into. Right. The life of a rock star. Right. And then Tower of Terror was definitely not showing you how. No, you're right. That's exactly right. The Twilight Zone is made. Exactly, it was immersing you in the storyline. Yeah. And I don't have a problem with it. I love it. Like, my favorite ride is Star Tours because of how immersive it is. Yes. You get to feel like you're part of the universe. I love that. I have a problem that it's called Hollywood Studios. That's all. Yes. I said briefly and I talked probably too long on it, but. Fun fact, in January 2008, we were here when it changed names. We were literally, we went to MGM Studios. Yes. And the next morning we went over and they had changed everything. Every sign said Hollywood Studios.
said Hollywood Studios, shirts, everything, all
Yeah.
merch and everything.
Crazy,
And
literally overnight.
it was literally overnight.
That was something special.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if it was special because
to say you were there when it happened is really cool.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
But I don't know. Anyway, so if you guys got to experience any of those attractions, let us know which one you preferred.
Mhm.
That is a goal here of mine. This season specifically is a little bit more audience interaction.
Yes.
Trying to remember to do a call to action at the end. Like, tell me what you thought.
Right.
If you agree with any of our takes, let us know. If you disagreed, be kind, but feel free to disagree. And then, yeah, we are not going to be doing anything having to do with Mickey's Neck of the Woods, the little news segment today. For
What's
two reasons.
going on in Mickey's Neck of the Woods? Not tonight.
Wrote that myself.
Love it.
Well, not the ending part was a nice little addition, but anyway.
Thank you.
Two reasons we're not doing it. Number one, I don't have all the gear. I can't do the thing where I show you guys what I'm looking at.
Mhm.
And number two is because we've been off for a month, so there has been a large amount of information that has come out, and we would rather just do one big episode next week where we break it all down. Not break it all down because I don't know if I have that kind of knowledge, but react. Talk about all of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So next week's episode will just be us Nikki's Mecca of the Woods.
Oh my goodness.
That's
Oh my
all
goodness.
we had prepared though tonight, and it is getting later and later, and I would really like to put my head on a pillow. So thank
Same.
you guys so much for joining us tonight. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're not already, follow us over on our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter pages at Noah Parker's World of Wonder. If you're listening to the audio-only version of this podcast, you can find the live version streamed every Monday night at 8 p.m. Mountain Time on Noah Parker channel.
Yep.
On YouTube. Sorry. Noah Parker _ channel on YouTube or, that's it. And if you already are watching on YouTube, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Podcasts is one of them, yes, and iHeart Podcasts by just searching for Noah Parker's World of Wonder. Within the next couple of weeks, I think DCOM Kids will be coming back. After a long hiatus.
Yeah, we got a couple of things that we're doing this week too.
Yes, and we have a lot of content coming out. I have 4 vlogs planned already, plus at least, I think we're 3 now. Because you're doing 2, and I'm doing 1. So we have at least 3 standalone videos.
When I found tonight.
Yes.
Awesome.
So lots of content. That's easily 7 weeks of content that I don't have to worry about making a special video for. That was getting really stressful. Like this Friday, I guess, I filmed myself packing for this trip because I was like, I don't know what else to do right now. I don't have, and I ran out of time. Work's been kind of stressful. I worked. That was another thing. I worked 6 days last week.
Oh,
and then came on vacation off of 6 days of work.
You need it.
So that was fun, but we digress, and I'm ready to go to bed. So thank you guys so much for watching. We hope to see you next week. But until then, my dear friends, let the wonder take hold. And you guys here on the live YouTube, thanks for hanging out. That wrapped up the audio-only version. I did record that separately tonight because it gets kind of challenging, but kind of willing to just hang out for like 3 minutes. If any of you 3 people watching us want to jump in the chat real quick, I'll give you 3 minutes. If I don't have a response in 3 minutes, that is 11 o'clock local time for us, I'm going to just go ahead and end the stream. But I do need to start working on getting some of this audio transferred over so I can try to get this put together before...
Oh, Dad must have gone to Taco Bell.
Ooh.
That's a freebie.
For the 3 people watching right now.
For the 3 people watching.
I don't even remember what I was talking about. I was saying, oh, thank you for watching, honey. I hope you enjoyed it.
Oh.
She sent me a kissy face, guys.
Oh.
I'm going to try to transfer this
too.
audio file over.
Where is he? Where is it?
I don't actually know how to transfer this audio file over. Share, I do, okay.
Live.
I don't want to share it to there. I want to share it to my iPad. I don't know if you can really see. Can you see these on the table? Are we still on the live? Because I can't. I don't see. I'm going to have to go over here. Okay. These are the... I think I took out the right one, right? Yeah, I did. These are the character trash can pins that I took out. This is
Yay.
y'all hanging out here watching us live. You get some spoilers. One of the videos we made today was a little mystery pin pack unboxing, which I really enjoyed doing. But the pin pack that I chose was like low-key kind of pricey, to the effect that I don't want to do more. I mean, I do because there's a goofy one,
Yeah.
but it was $45 to get, or not 45, sorry, it was $40. That one comes off. They're $40 for 5 pins, which is honestly a decent deal, especially for the size pins they are. They're less than $10 a piece.
Yeah, they're $8 a piece.
Okay,
They're 40? You said 40?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is with my annual pass.
Yes, pass holder discount.
which is $9 off. So
20%.
they're $10.
Yeah.
They're $10 a pop, which is really good for pins. Especially this is a decent sized pin for that. So that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But as much as I really want that goofy one, I don't know if I can rationalize buying another pack. The only benefit to doing it is I can just buy that pack and then I just have gifts for everyone. And I can do it. I can buy gifts for everyone for $80.
You could be like, here, I know you don't like this person, but here you go.
Yeah.
Because you do have some.
I may have just talked myself into it. Because I think I can rationalize that.
Can you?
I think I can. If I just give away the ones, like if I find the goofy one and just give everyone else all the other ones, then I think we'll see. We'll see how I feel. I might need to talk myself into it some more, but all right. Well, that's going to do it for us. I think I'm going to go ahead and log out here. Thank you for watching, darling. Thank you for watching other 2 people, although I think one of them is me. So thank you, other person, which may have been you for all I know.
Could have been me.
But it said 3 before you pulled up your phone. So unless you had it playing longer than that, then okay.
I didn't.
So we'll see. But anyway.
Random friend or viewer or
whomever
sibling.
May be watching.
Hard to tell.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and stop the stream, but I love you all. Thank you for joining us. Okay, good night. Where's the button to stop?